It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we're going to beer from Aldi. It's part of their Harper's Brewing Company range of beers, and this is their Toffee Ale coming in at 4.8% ABV in a 500ml bottle. There's a look at the label, there's a look at the bottle cap. Nice big hop there. Without further ado, let's get this beer out into a glass and see what we get. We have already reviewed the coffee ale on the channel. Very similar to Toffee, isn't it? Coffee, Toffee. Be careful which one I kind of say in this review. But I've already reviewed the coffee ale if you want to watch that. I thoroughly enjoyed that beer. It was really good. So I'm looking forward to this one. The beer's in Aldi, 500ml bottle like this as of early 2021. It'll cost you around £1.20 to £1.25 a bottle. And for what you get, especially with a coffee ale, I've got no idea what this is going to be like. But for the coffee ale, it was fantastic value for money. It really was. So we got a 1 to 2 finger, slightly off-white head. It kind of generally looks like toffee, doesn't it? Like a dark treacle toffee. It's nicely carbonated. Deep. You could look at that, and if you had to pick a style of beer to categorize this beer, you'd probably say mild. You'd probably say that looks like a mild. Too light for a porter, too light for a stout. That definitely looks like a mild. Let's get the aroma. Oh, it's clear as well. It's not a bottle conditioned beer. Aroma. I've heard this is a bit of a Marmite beer. Some people along the kind of, when I reviewed the coffee ale, a lot of people said they either loved the toffee ale or hated the toffee ale. For me, just by getting the aroma of the beer, it's doing exactly what it says on the tin. You've bought this beer with big writing of Toffee Ale on the label. And what it's doing is, in terms of the aroma, is chucking sticky toffee stroke toffee apple flavours at me. A real sweet, syrupy toffee apple, sticky toffee pudding maybe. Interesting. Let's dive in. Cheers. Oh, it's an interesting one. It's been brewed, first of all, I'm going to say straight away, it's been brewed by a big regional brewer. Ooh. Oh, that's got some flavour in it. That has got... I can understand for the people who watch my coffee ale review and commented saying, I didn't like the toffee ale. I can understand where you're coming from. I really can. I think it's rather complex. I think it's a rather complex beer for that £1.20, £1.25 price point. It really is a complex brew. It's like they brewed Marston's pedigree, chucked a couple of copper nails in the boil of the Marston's pedigree, and then in the fermenter they chucked a load of toffee flavourings. It's tinny. It's a regional brewer tinny flavour. Some of these regional brewers, once they get to the size they are, they cannot escape that tinniness. It's almost like a very British thing that you produce a tinny, metallic kind of beer. But people seem to love it. People seem to really enjoy it. I'm not going to argue with that. It's nowhere near as sweet as I was expecting. I was expecting like a barrage of sweetness, and for me, I don't like sweet beer. It is sweet, but it's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be. It's much more kind of toffee-like in the aroma. Much more toffee-like. And then in the flavour, it's more... There's a little bit of burnt toffee, a little bit of that... what do they call it with creme brulee? They put the brown sugar on the top and they burn it with a blowtorch. You know, that kind of brown sugar, burnt brown sugar, the creme brulee. It's got some of that. It's got some sticky toffee. It's very tinny. It's very metallic. It's carbonated. You get a lot of that malt. Surprisingly, you've got a lot of like a traditional British bitterness. It tastes a little bit like it tastes a little bit, pardon me, like a bank sale. When I was growing up in Barry, we had a pub. It's still there when it wants to open. Of course, it's 2020, 2021. So who knows when the pubs will open. But it's been there. It's been owned by Marston's in different senses for a long time. It was a Banks's pub first, and they always had a Banks bitter. A Banks bitter in this pub. And I always found it like I would rather drink the pedigree than the Banks bitter, because the Banks bitter was always like really bitter. It was a proper old school bitter beer. This kind of reminds me of that old school Banks bitter, really bitter beer. I'm gonna just come out and say it. I believe that this beer has been brewed by Marston's. I really do. I think this is a Marston's brewed beer. They've done something interesting. They've done something funky. They produced a toffee ale for Aldi. And, you know, I think it's worked. I think it's worked. I think, personally, people would shout a lot louder about this beer if it had, like it has here, it's got toffee ale in rather large letters. You're not going to escape that. If it didn't taste like toffee, I think people would be up in arms. They'd be complaining. You know, this has got creme brulee and sticky toffee and, you know, toffee apple flavours. You know, it does what it says on the label. It's doing exactly that. If it didn't have that, then people would be up in arms. It does. But it is a Marmite beer. It will be like, you either really like it or you really dislike this beer. For what it is, looking at the beer for what it is, for what they've labelled, for what they've tried to do, I think they've done a rather good job. I really do. Again, with Aldi, they've not put a lot on the back of the bottle. There's no ingredients here as to what you're drinking. I firmly believe that the UK needs to go down the road of the German Reinheitsgebot. Not necessarily just sticking to 4 ingredients, but at least at least putting the ingredients on the back of the bottle. That's all we expect. If you bought a chocolate bar or crisps, or it's by law you have to have the ingredients. I think the law should be that you have the ingredients on the back of the bottle for you know, you're consuming this liquid, you're sticking it in your body, and there's no ingredients on the back of the bottle. I think that needs to change. But rating for the Harper's Brewing Company's Toffee Ale, 4.8% ABV. It's got good lacing. It's got a good head on it. Nicely carbonated beer. It looks like a dark mild. For the price point, let me remind you, for that price point, for that £1.20, £1.25, it's quirky. It's quirky and I like it. It's quirky and I like it. I kind of picked the bones out of this one and I've understood it and enjoyed it. So I like that enough to give it, for the money, it's an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box, subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews, give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom! Cheers!